Are you getting ready for the upcoming UK Dermatology Interviews and are feeling a little bit lost and unprepared? Well, not to worry, because in this video we're going to talk more about tackling this interview. Dermatology is one of the most competitive medical specialties out there. In fact, in 2023, in round 1, there were 241 applications for around 32 posts, resulting in a competition ratio of around 7. To be honest, it's only going to be more competitive over the next few years. Dermatology interviews are made up of 3 main stations. We have the portfolio station, where you are asked questions about your CV and your commitment to specialty. Then you have the clinical station, where you are given a hypothetical case scenario and asked to come up with a management plan. The last station is research and academic station, and this is where you are asked to interpret and critically appraise an abstract within a few minutes. So in this video, we're going to look at the portfolio station of the interview, and I'm going to share my top 5 tips on how to ace this station. For those who are new to this channel, my name is Chris and I'm a dermatology trainee currently working in the west of Scotland. And on this channel, I share my life experiences working in dermatology as well as living in the UK as a foreigner. Tip number 1, prepare a set of answers to commonly asked interview questions. One good book that I highly recommend is the Medical Interviews book, which costs around £30 on Amazon and is also incidentally listed as the number 1 in the bestseller list under the medical category. It probably is one of the best investments I did for my interviews because it provides a structured framework using things like CAMP, SPICE and STAR. So for example, for common interview questions like tell me about yourself, take me through your CV, the CAMP structure can actually be used. So CAMP actually stands for Clinical, Academic, Management and Personal, and you fit examples into each section in order to make your answers look more structured and well-rounded. STAR stands for Situation, Task, Action and Results, and we use this primarily for competency or skill-based questions. For example, if you were given a question like tell me a time when you had to support your colleague in need, you can use this framework to structure your answer. SPICE stands for Seek Information, Patient Safety, Take Initiative, Escalation and Support. And this is actually useful in clinical or ethical situations where you're asked to manage a patient in a clinical station. Crafting a set of answers to a dozen of these interview questions is like having a full deck of cards in your back pocket. Think about it, when you're thrown a question that you have seen and practiced for a dozen of times, then it's more likely you sound more confident and smooth when answering the question without the ums and ahs. Plus, when you're not scrambling for answers, you can actually start to enjoy and appreciate the conversation with the interviewers. Remember though that you may be asked questions that can throw you off guard, such as questions with a negative tone. For example, you may be asked questions like what is your main weakness, tell me a time when you made a mistake, things like that with a negative connotation. And so it's important for you to think about these questions and know how to structure an answer for them. Tip number 2, give unique examples. Imagine that you were the interviewer asking the same set of questions to dozens of candidates. I'm pretty sure at some point in time you would start to drift off and zone out. The candidates who stand out from the rest are the ones who give really unique, genuine answers based on their own personal experiences, rather than the generic ones that you can get off the interview book. If you're like me and you're struggling to find something interesting that happened in your life to use as examples, I would encourage you to start by taking down notes of anything that you do and see at work, because chances are you have realized you can find things that you've witnessed at work as examples for your answers. So for example, if you're on the wards managing patients, you are constantly interacting with them and your colleagues, and I'm pretty sure you can use these interactions as examples for your answers. Another way is to use AI to help formulate your answers. So for example, with ChatGPT, if I were to answer this question, tell me about an ethical situation you encountered, I can then use some bullet points, put it into ChatGPT to formulate a nice, well-rounded, structured answer. Another tip I have is to say out your most important achievements first, rather than leaving it to the last or expecting the interviewers to pick them up and ask you. It's a bit like speed dating, where you only have a small amount of time to make a good first impression, so you've got to make every moment count. You don't actually have a lot of time to speak in this section, only around 7 minutes, so you want to give them the prime cuts at the very beginning. So for example, there is probably little point in talking about the courses and conferences that you know everyone has been to, but rather talk about the projects or things that you've done that is unique for you and that you think the interviewers would be interested in. You don't have to talk about dermatology specific projects, but try to link link it back to dermatology as much as you can. So for example, I used to be a dancer and a vice president in dance club during my university days. I included that in my answers because I thought it was interesting, but I tried to link back to dermatology by saying that being a vice president gave me the opportunity to manage a team of people and also gave me opportunities to liaise with other stakeholders in organizing events like dance concerts. And this would be a useful skill to have in dermatology because as a consultant, you have to manage your junior trainees and supervise your nursing colleagues. Another tip is to practice, practice, and practice. Now, it goes without saying, practice makes perfect. I cannot stress how important it is to practice in front of yourself, in front of the mirror, to your loved ones, friends, colleagues, and even friendly consultants. The more you run through your responses, the more natural you become, and it's not just about memorizing lines. It's about finding that sweet spot where your answers sound like a conversation rather than a monologue. Personally, I find it incredibly useful to practice with my peers while also sitting for the same interviews just to help each other out, and also practice in front of your colleagues like your registrars who have done the interview process already. The last tip I have for you guys is to invest in a good setup. As dermatology interviews are likely to be virtual from now on, I highly recommend you getting a good audio headset and a good video camera. You do want to create a good first impression, which is why little things like this play a huge role. It's similar to wearing a well-tailored suit for a job interview to make a good first impression. And having good audio and video quality just adds that guarantee that your message is being delivered without any technical interference. You can actually buy headsets and video cameras off Amazon or Argos for a reasonable price, and actually it's a good investment because you're bound to use them for future virtual events. If you're interested to know where I got mine, I've listed them down below in the description box. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this video useful, do check out my other videos on the dermatology interviews. Thanks for watching once again, and see you next time.